If you invested $10,000 into a total US stock index fund and $10,000 into a total international index fund 30 years ago, then today your US stock portfolio would be worth around $175,000 and your international portfolio would be worth around $41,000. That international return is horrible enough to make a grown man cry.
Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
I'm going to spend this video convincing you and showing you why you need to start investing internationally if you haven't already.
Investors? Possibly you!
But I am also going to show you when it doesn't make sense to invest internationally. Let me explain. There's this map of the world that I put up in my garage gym about 5 years ago. The main reason was for it to be a constant reminder of how small and absolutely insignificant I am compared to the rest of the world. It's a weird thing to do, I know. It's also weird that grown men still wet the bed, but that's besides the point.
Everybody my age pees their pants. It's the coolest.
A map like this is also a good reminder to investors, especially here in the US, that there is more to investable assets than what's based in the United States. Some of the most valuable publicly traded businesses in the world are located in the US. That's why they account for 60% of the stock-related assets in the whole entire world. But there's still 40% of assets outside of the border that we need to be aware of. Not just any assets either, actual businesses that are continuing to grow, make money, reduce costs, and take over their respective industries for the benefit of their shareholders. I point this out because as investors, it's easy to forget what's behind a stock price and ticker symbol. When we invest, we're buying ownership in real-life businesses just like that gas station, grocery store, or strip club right down the road from you. And while it's easy to think that this world asset split will stay where it's at, it won't. The world is constantly changing and we can't predict where it's going next. Many people would say that they can ignore holding an international fund because their US-based stock fund already gives them international exposure since some of those revenues come from overseas. I used to be one of these people as well, but there's more to it that either they're not telling you or they haven't even thought of yet. Technically, they're correct. The largest companies in the S&P 500, like Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, all make money from countries outside of the United States. And as an investor in those companies through my S&P 500 and total stock market funds, I hope they continue to do so, and even work on trying to increase that. Right now, around 40% of the revenue from S&P 500 companies comes from outside of the country. One thing that is rarely mentioned is that if the overseas revenue for those US-based companies happens to shrink in the future, then your international exposure through those will shrink as well. There goes that indirect international exposure that you thought that you had through them. Whoops. But hey, it's okay because, you know, America and stuff and things. Listen, I'm from the United States. I love my country, and I want nothing more than to see it succeed like it has in the past. Heck, I'm about as American as type 2 diabetes.
Diabetes.
We need to acknowledge home country bias though, and understand how it affects our decisions when thinking about the future value of our portfolios. More about future returns in just a minute though. If you're getting some value from this video and you want to help support my dog Molly, as well as myself and this channel, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. I don't blame someone who wants to only invest in the companies they're most familiar with because that's what they see every single day within their own country. But did you know that even some of the most well-known brands that you come across every day are in fact international companies? And for American investors, your US stock funds aren't benefiting from these international revenues that are happening domestically. Think well-known companies like Nestle, Samsung, Shell, Toyota, LVMH, Unilever, and way more. These are very well-known brands though, so you might not see any issue with a fund that holds these stocks. Your biggest concern with putting some of your money into an international fund may be that the rest of the 7,797 foreign stocks held within the Vanguard Total International ETF are super risky because they're, no pun intended, foreign to you. Yes, we do need to acknowledge the inherent risks of laws, politics, corruption, and economics. But if you think that you are immune to those risks by only investing in US-based stocks, then I have a cup of my bathwater that I want to sell you. Just kidding, I take showers, not baths, because who wants to clean themselves in their own filthy water other than, I don't know, my dog and the Liver King? In a research paper titled Investor Diversification and International Equity Markets, from the highly regarded Professor Kenneth French, he observed a behavioral bias with the perception of risk in equity markets. Investors may not evaluate the risk of different investments based solely on the historical standard deviation of returns. They may attribute extra risk to foreign investments because they know less about foreign markets, institutions, and firms. There are always going to be risks with US-based stocks and international stocks. The good news is that if you own a broad-based index fund for both, then those rare one-off companies that are super risky will be offset by the hundreds of other stocks that aren't as risky. Speaking of historical returns, we need to address the elephant in the room. The one that people come at me with all the time whenever I utter the words allocation and international funds in the same sentence. Heck, it's one of the excuses that I used before starting to put some of my money into international funds. The historical returns of international stock funds have not been good compared to US stocks. They've lagged the US by 8% over the past 10 years. 3% over the past 20, and 5% over the past 30 years. I have a word for this that was also the nickname one of my ex-girlfriends gave me. Dumpster fire. Even though US stocks have gone through waves of outperforming and underperforming international in the past, they've still come out ahead. So why in the world would you even bother putting a single penny into a broad-based index fund after seeing these numbers? Because you and me, we are investing for the future and not what happened in the past. Now, could international continue to underperform over the next 30 years? Absolutely. But the problem is that none of us know in the moment how things are going to play out. It's so easy to look at the recent past performance of US versus international and conclude that you should completely ignore international going forward because they haven't done very well. If we used that same line of thinking back in 2010 when international had outperformed US for the previous 8 years, then technically we should have had a decent amount of money allocated towards a broad-based international index fund because, you know, line goes up here, so we need to chase that line. What you wouldn't have known at the time is the insane bull run US stocks would go on for the next 10 or 11 years. The point of a well-diversified portfolio is that you have all of your bases covered through a broad range of different stocks, sectors, and countries. Except that part of your portfolio will outperform while other parts will underperform at times. Not everything is going to go up at the same time, at the same rate, and that is perfectly fine. Jumping out of underperforming funds to jump into outperforming funds is the same thing as buying high and selling low, which is a huge no-no. So stop doing that and fight your natural impulse to want to do that as well. I'm not saying that getting out of underperforming funds is a bad thing because a lot of them were trash to begin with. You just didn't realize it at the time. I'm going to repeat this to metaphorically beat it into your brain so you stop basing your decisions on past returns. Optimize your portfolio for diversity and longevity, then you'll be set up to capitalize no matter what goes up and down over time across the world. The point of a diversified portfolio isn't to maximize returns.
What did you say?
It's to improve your risk-adjusted returns, prepare you for anything, and stay in the game longer than the people who go all in on one asset class. I'm not even saying to make international a large percentage of your holdings. Just a little sliver. Even if we compared a portfolio that was 100% US index fund to an 80% US, 20% international allocation, the diversified portfolio only underperformed by less than 1% so far. If you're curious how much others have allocated to international, here's a poll that I put up on my YouTube channel community tab. The 33% of people who like to jump out of airplanes with no parachute have 0% allocated to international. 31% of them have 1 to 10%, 20% hold 11 to 20%, and you can see the rest on screen here. Let me know in the comments down below what your international allocation is at this point in time. Bonus points if you want to add some additional commentary on why you have that allocation set up for yourself. After everything we just touched on, let's talk about when it might not make sense to add an international fund into your portfolio.
What is going on?
What are you doing?
I could sit here and show you all of the research in the world on why you should diversify some of your money into an international fund. I could pull study after study from the most well-known and well-respected minds out there on the topic. But you are a living, breathing human with thoughts, feelings, and personal fears. Sometimes the things that seem irrational to the outside world are completely rational to us internally. We are not robots, and our lives don't play out like the numbers that we put into a spreadsheet. Because of this, if you still don't feel comfortable putting any of your money into international, then that's okay, and I cannot fault you for doing that. Trust me, you could be doing much worse than only investing in a US-based index fund. At the end of the day, a decent plan that you stick to is better than the perfect plan that you don't. If you are someone who watched this video all the way through and you want to start investing some money into international, don't do it yet. Right now, my bias for investing in international index funds is flowing through that intelligent brain of yours, which means that deep down, you might not truly believe in doing that yet. You have to believe it's right for your investing goals, or else you're going to panic at the first sign of things not working out. And to make this successful, you have to be willing to hold on to funds for very long periods of time. I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50-year time periods. Wait a few days, weeks, or even months to make sure that this is still something that you should do with your own portfolio. To be honest, it took me about 1.5 years to even 2 years to really feel comfortable adding an international index fund to my holdings. Please help support the channel by hitting that thumbs up button. Check out the description of this video for other helpful investing resources and additional ways to help support the channel. You can also join the free financial independence group down in the description as well. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Done.